What up, and Roundtable? I am your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. What's going on today, brother?
Not a lot, man. Big weekend in sports for you. You were pumping up the horse racing last weekend. Then we saw or last week when we recorded, and then we saw a kind of historic upset there. And before you get on here and lie to it, we know you didn't have, like, what is it, Rich Strike? What was his name?
Rich Strike, 80-1. I did not.
Yeah,
I'll say that I did not.
yeah, he had a superfecta. He put, no, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. But yeah, and then we had the UFC fights. It was a cool weekend.
You can not lie to everybody, Tyson. You're trying to downplay. I mean, pretty much a perfect handicap by you. The knockout by Michael Chandler, Oliveira submission, what you called. The only thing that was over was Eunice, complete no-show. One of the worst fights in UFC history. But other than
That
that, Tyson, what a handicap of a card.
Yeah, I was happy, but that was like sad too because Tony's one of my favorites. See him get knocked out, but um, Charles Oliveira getting stripped of his belt and then going out there getting dropped twice and finishing Justin Gaethje in like 8 minutes is otherworldly. And I don't want to talk about the Rose fight. I literally started playing Heads Up. My girlfriend, I was sitting with her, and we were playing the phone game where you put
Yeah.
the trivia on because it was so boring. And there, at no point was there ever any like real threat that the fight was going to end. So it was, or like there was going to be any entertaining action there. It was like watching just like live sparring, but shadow boxing.
Dude, it was so bad. Like that's one of the worst I've ever seen. And we didn't even mention. I mean, Canelo had a fight. He was trying to fight
Yeah.
up a weight class title fight against Dimitri Bivol. Canelo lost in a fight that was not as close as the judges scored it. I mean, if you watch that fight, Canelo got his ass whooped, and I was happy about it. I think the conversation on Canelo, I tweeted it out. It's gotten a little out of hand. Like, oh, this guy could just go up and fight anybody. It's like, yo, stay in your lane, man. Like Tyson Fury would put you on Mars with an uppercut. Like, yeah, dominate your division, fight actual good champion fighters in your division, and then maybe we can start seeing these super fights. So I was happy he lost. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but you can't fault the guy for going up and testing himself. I think some of the discourse around the fight has been more trying to focus on him losing to zero. But I mean, we all would have loved to see like Floyd take a risk in the last 25 fights of his career. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you can't be mad at the guy.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, Tyson. That's our weekend. Crazy stuff happening. We have some crazy stuff to discuss in the NBA. I mean, absolutely insane results. Some extremely good games, like in the Bucks-Celtics, like we watched tonight, and then an head blowout or head scratching blowout that the Grizzlies just laid on the Warriors. But we're going to get into the Bucks-Celtics series right now because you've been saying it. Giannis proved why he's the best player on the planet tonight. Down 2-2. We all know the stats. The winner of game 5 in a 7-game series, they win about 80% of the time in the NBA. Bucks have to go on the road. No Middleton. Celtics, after beating the Bucks, they're feeling themselves, they're ready to go. They're up, they're dominating. And then why can you never count a championship team out or a dominant player like Giannis out? Because then they do this. Escape with an insane victory on the road, down 14 in the fourth quarter, pull off the victory, 110-107. Series shifts back to Milwaukee for deciding game 6. Just give your thoughts for the audience here, Tyson.
Well, I don't think they escaped with the win. I mean, they took that thing. Like this team to me, and that was when we did our preview. I had the Celtics and the Bucks as the two teams in the East that I thought could win a title, but I had Milwaukee comfortably ahead. It's because of like what Drew Holiday just did and what Giannis just did without Chris Middleton. I mean, remember when the Bucks got fleeced on the Drew Holiday trade for the first 2 months of the regular season, and that dude had. I know everyone remembers the Giannis block and the Giannis dunk in the finals, but Drew Holiday had the biggest defensive play of that series, stripping the ball from Devin Booker at the end of game 5, um, or game 4, whatever it was, winning Milwaukee the game today. 2 absolutely clutch steals, and then like you have it's Superman. Like he's what are you going to do? I mean, with this team, them with their championship DNA, I mean, I'm not saying the Celtics don't have championship level players, but they don't have the guys the Bucks have.
Yeah, and the Bucks have been there. Like we've been saying, that's the theme of this podcast, and because we've seen it our entire lives. Experience in these leagues matter, and Boston hasn't gotten over that hump yet. Milwaukee has, and you saw it tonight. Celtics had a chance to close this thing out. They got really, really dribble happy, lost all movement on offense, couldn't hit a shot, and then Milwaukee just comes down. They share the love. Boom, boom. Wes Matthews 3, Drew Holiday step back, Giannis attacks, Bobby Portis. He whipped the layup, comes back down. Biggest offensive rebound of the game on the missed free throw by Giannis. Gets the bucket. These players have been here before. The spotlight's not too big. The moment's not too big because they've done it on the biggest stage. That's why we say, listen, even without Middleton, everybody, Celtics are going to win this series. I mean, look at it. Look how they played against the Nets. Giannis is the best player in the world. He's the most dominant player in the world. And when he plays like this, 40 points, 11 rebounds, the rest of the players, the others, as Shaquille O'Neal calls them, they stepped their game up. Bobby Portis, 14 and 15. Drew Holiday, he had 24, 8 and 8, hit 4 threes. Wes Matthews, 3 threes. Pat Connaughton, he's been great off the bench, 3 threes. That's what happens. That's what happens to championship locker rooms and teams when their back is against the wall and you need to step up.
And I don't think that the term like the others in that way even really applies to some of the Bucks guys, because some of those, these are like the Sixers have others, the Grizzlies have others. Like these are like legit like high level fucking NBA basketball players, and they're littered all over the roster, at least as deep as they go. But the point is, like, I think they're going to go back to Milwaukee and finish this thing at 6. Championship level shit, man. Like, this is what they just did was like, that was ripping the heart, I think, out of the Boston Celtics. And Celtics are a very resilient team. We know that. But there's just like something about the Milwaukee Bucks. There's a different kind of swagger than I think any team in the East and maybe anybody in the NBA.
Completely agree there. I think they go back home. They're going to sit on this one. Boston's going to be thinking about what they should have done, this and that. And Milwaukee's got to know, we don't want to go back to Boston in a game 7. Anything can happen there. Let's put our knife in them and let's twist it. It's already in. It's time to twist them and rip their heart out. We just got our hand in their chest. It's time to pull it out and finish the deal. And let's go play for an Eastern Conference championship. It's just we talk about it, man. I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse in this, but we've seen this so many times. And when you have a player like Giannis, and you said it, when it's elimination game Giannis, it's different level. And yes, on paper, this wasn't an elimination game. If they would have lost this game, I think they would have lost the series. So it might as well have been. And once again, in the biggest moment, when the team needs him most, who steps up? It's the Greek Freak.
Is there a better, like, I don't know, is there a scarier thing that Giannis can still add to his game?
Yeah, jump shot. I mean, if he hits those threes that he's loving to take right now, I don't know how you guard him.
The way that he's like, talked about is like, this dude's like, this is as good as it gets. And I think he's significantly better this year than he was last year. I think watching Giannis, he's a better basketball player this year in almost every aspect than he was last season. And last season, he was winning a Finals MVP and a championship after winning 2 straight MVP and Defensive Players. like this dude is like, he's not real. He's a cartoon. Like, it's a cartoon.
Especially just thinking about on a historic basis too. I saw something on Twitter. Looking ahead, obviously, if he wins a championship, if they go back to back this year, where does he rank all time? Is he top 15? And it's kind of like, man, that's crazy. That's early. Then you start thinking about it. You're like, by the time he's done, the accumulation of stats he has with the awards and the championships, this dude's going to be up there.
I don't even think, like, as his career goes on, sure, he'll get all the way there, but, like, I know what I'm watching, and I think that you could run through, at least in my lifetime, Giannis, I think, would be, like, already among he might even be in a starting 5 if I were to create one, like, just in my lifetime, and I know that there's top 15 players from before I was around, so I'm not gonna speak on that, but, like, he doesn't have the accolades that, like, he's, like, tied in accolades with a guy like Dirk right now, for instance, and I never saw Dirk be able to do what I just watched Giannis do, and I've seen him do like, this dude is a cheat code, and he's completely overshadowing, uh, his own teammates who are playing amazing, but, like, Jason Tatum's been good this series, Jaylen Brown's been good this series, the Celtics are, having a really good series. He got dunked on by Al Horford,
Yeah.
and he came back and he scored 41. Like, this dude he's unreal.
So let's talk about the Celtics then. I mean, they let this one slip away. I think it's very fair to say that. Inexperience. I mean, you look at the team, they've been here before, like in the playoffs. Tatum and Brown, it's not their first rodeo, especially with Smart and Horford. But it's still an inexperienced team when you truly talk about competing at a high level for a championship. I think
And
that
coaching
year that they
staff.
went, yeah, I mean, young coach too. Yeah, you're right. But I think we kind of got fooled into the Celtics when they made that run when Kyrie got hurt. And you're like, man, this team's going to be here for a while. It's just hard to win in the NBA, especially when you're young. And I think now they're in that time where we're like, okay, the Boston Celtics are hitting their prime with Tatum and Brown, that we could see them competing. And then you see these growing pains I think they still have. Whereas they're at the end of the game, just keep running the offense. Like, you've been beating the Bucks all game by sharing the basketball, moving. Because what the Bucks want to do on defense, they want to force your offense to just standing around so they can lock their shell up, and then eventually just force you into a contested three. Like, that's their defensive game plan. Boston down the stretch played into that with ISO basketball, step back jumpers, and not attacking the rim. That's got to change going forward. Like, you don't need a hero step back shot, because a layup at the end looks just as good as a step back shot when you get a victory. Boston's got a lot to improve there. Going into the next game, I think it's gonna be hard for them to pick themselves off the mat. I I don't think they're gonna shoot as well as they did today. I mean, they still shot 10 of 31 from three, but that's what Milwaukee does. I I, I don't want to say that they can't win. I see it's a very, very tough way for them to win and keep themselves in a series. The only way I can see them doing it is their two stars play elite together again, Tatum and Brown.
Not just elite, but they have to outplay Giannis and Drew. And, you know, the role players are gonna play better. And that's not a bet that I'm gonna make. I just I'm I'm rocking with the best player in the world at home. Um, you said pick yourself up off the mat, but this dude, like, it's harder to get up off the mat when there's like a size 20, shoe on your neck. And I I got the Bucks.
So we both are on the Bucks in Game 6 to close this thing out and go to another Eastern Conference Finals. Interesting result tonight, Tyson. I don't think anyone on the planet saw this coming.
Could you
The
imagine
Grizzlies,
what would the odds have been on
shoo,
the exact final score?
on the exact final score? Jeez, man. I mean, $1 to win $1 million. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
Grizzlies blow out the Warriors 134-95. They scored 80 points in the first half. I mean, holy smokes. We're gonna have a
Without
game
John
6
Morant.
without John Morant. We're gonna have a game 6 back in Golden State. So let's talk about what we saw out of the Grizzlies tonight. Obviously, it was the shooting. Obviously, the defense forced the Warriors out of rhythm. And the biggest difference to me was the rebounding. The insertion of Steven Adams back into this lineup and back into the rotation. I think he's a huge, huge game changer. Maybe a little too late, but since Steven Adams has played in this series, they've been more physical, the Grizzlies have. They've rebounded a lot better, and their interior presence has improved, not just with only Steven Adams. The guards are getting to the rack, the wings are getting to the rack, and it's helping their shooters space the floor and stay open.
and their give a shit factor is just 10 times higher. It was 10 times higher tonight than Golden State's, and that definitely helped to facilitate. I mean, they were beating the Warriors starters by damn near 60 points. I don't know what like Steph Curry's plus minus. I don't have that in front of me right now, but like when those guys went out of the game, it was a larger lead than the 41 that ended up at. They got up by like over 50 points at one point. Um, it was just a perfect storm, really. I mean, they couldn't miss. Every loose ball was going directly to them. The Warriors couldn't shoot. The Warriors were turning it over every time down the court, whether it was good defense or not. They were running out of bounds, like just dropping passes. It was it's a pretty feel good thing for the Memphis Grizzlies to have happen at home without their superstar player. I think they're going to feel pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But you're still going back to Oracle Arena playing, the most part is still a 3-time champion or 4-time, however many rings. Those guys have won. Like, I was expecting Memphis to honestly win this game. I didn't think they'd win by 51, but my entire opinion of the series didn't change all that much today. Like, Golden State sucked, and I will say this. There's a lot of talk about Golden State being able to win an NBA championship this year after they went up 3-1 and everybody was all over it. I'm not saying they can't, but I am saying I've never seen an NBA championship caliber team lose by – or starters get outscored by 55 in a closeout game in the second round.
To put a bow on everything here, Grizzlies shot 48% from the field, 43 from 3, 18 of 41, 18 offensive rebounds, which is a huge factor. For your plus minus here, Tyson, Curry was a minus 37, Jordan Poole was a minus 34, Draymond was a minus 32, and Klay Thompson was a minus 45. So pretty eye-popping statistics there. I'll go back. I'm going to take what you said further with the Warriors point. And I agree with you. Everybody, once they were handling business in the first round, oh, the Warriors, man, they're blowing out the Nuggets. Woo, look, how do you guard these guards when they're going? You're playing the Nuggets. You're playing the Nuggets, a depleted team that's basically running on fumes. It's a miracle they had enough guards that weren't in the G League to make it through all 82. Like it was impressive on that front. That's why Tyson and I always preach on this show. You got to take it series at a time in the NBA. It's all about matchups. It's all about who does what and who can play against who. Grizzlies can play with these guards. I mean, we've seen it all series. It's been a tough series. Warriors blew them out in one game for the most part, and obviously this blowout that the Grizzlies just stitched back. For the most part, it's been 3 of these games have been really tough down the wire, and that's a matchup thing. So to expect the Warriors to go in here and start steamrolling teams because they blew out the Nuggets, I mean, you and I both didn't see that. But I'm going to take it a step further here. This was my concern with the Warriors all along, and this started back in like December, January even. Like, they get on cruise control, and when they don't hit shots, they're a really finesse team.
Yep.
I get it. Like the Draymond Green factor, he's got that attitude. He's got that edge. I'm a big Draymond guy. But beyond that, you have Curry, Thompson, and Poole. Those are your 3 guys. Finesse. Kuminga's a rookie or a young player. Rookie, young player. I think first or second year player. I think he's a rookie.
He's a rookie.
He's a rookie. Kayvon Looney's not a factor. James Wiseman's out. Other than that, like who's your size? Who's your enforcer? You can push around the Warriors. And we've been saying that for a while. And then you add into the fact that the NBA has allowed this thing to get more physical, where you can start to hand check a little bit more. You can start grabbing a little bit more. It tires out guards a lot easier. It allows you to stay in front of these guards a lot easier. And they're calling these moving screens at a more frequent level. It goes against what the Warriors have been great at, like back when they're in their heyday in their little mini dynasty or their dynasty, I'll say. That's why
it wasn't mini.
It wasn't mini, yeah. It was a dynasty. But that's why I'm like, I don't see it with the Warriors team this year. And I think we'll talk about the Suns series. I think if the Suns close out the Mavs, I like the Suns in the matchup against the Warriors. I mean, they're just bigger, they're more physical, their wings are great, and Ayton can pound them on the inside. I think that's a bad matchup for the Warriors. I think they're going to get by the Grizzlies because they have this lead right in the series. Beyond that, I just don't see it.
Yeah, they're gonna need, Andrew Wiggins has to be first month of the season, Andrew Wiggins, and not. I mean, life or death taxes, and Wiggins somehow finding a way to score like 17 points in every game, but he's not playing well on offense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird thing. I mean, you can't count. Steph Curry is still liable, to go for
Oh,
40
of
points 4
course.
games in a
But
row.
that's what great players do.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying with the Warriors. Like, as much as I agree with they are finesse, and I think they're little, and they're not as quick as they were when they were running those death lineups that everybody fell in love with. Um, but they still have the firepower to be able to just beat you off the court on offense, and it doesn't really matter what kind of defense you're playing because they're pulling from 40 feet. I think they're going to beat the Grizzlies at home in Game 6. Unfortunately, a lot of these series are really close, and I don't think we're going to get a Game 7 this series, this round. Now that I said that, we will. But yeah, I think the Warriors are going to go home and get it done, and then hopefully Steve Kerr's back because like Mike Brown still sucks
Mm-hmm.
at this whole head coach thing, and like he gets. It's the Warriors treatment. Like Luke Walton, or yeah, he lived how long? 4 years or 3 years in the NBA.
Coached the Lakers for a bit, got fired, and went to the Kings.
All of that was off the strength of like working for the Warriors and being able
Mm-hmm.
to coach like these guys. So it's a talented unit.
Well, and the Kings, of course, hired Mike Brown, and we'll see how that experiment goes. Can you imagine being a Kings fan? How in the hell does Mike Brown get you excited for your upcoming season? No, forget season. Your franchise. 4 years for Mike Brown. That's you could. You should have thrown $30 million at Jay Wright and just tell him to deny you. Are you kidding me with that Mike Brown hire? How is that even a thing?
There's no way that any Kings fan was
Jeez.
upset about it. It's the thing. It's just
What
like
do they have to be
another.
upset about? They just know they suck. Like,
That's what I'm saying. It's just another thing. It's just like, oh, we're still gonna suck. Like at least
oh,
the Lions got Dan Campbell, and it was like, all right, like we got something new. The Kings are like,
exactly.
yeah, this is fine. We'll
You're
finish
like, oh,
like we
okay.
might make a
The world
play
isn't
in.
ending.
That's their goal in Sacramento is to make a play in.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But I'm in agreement with you on the getting back to this. I'm in agreement with you on the Warriors. I think they close it out at home. Because the other thing too, they're gonna be pissed off. I mean, they just got embarrassed. Embarrassed at home. So I think they close it out. But before we move on from this, because Tyson, you know what it's gonna be on those crap ass fucking national media shows. Are the Grizzlies better without John Morant? And let's just nip this in the bud on our show.
No,
No, they're not.
no.
Now, what they're better at without John Morant is defending.
That's the
That's
thing is that
that,
that's the distinction that I think people fail. Are they better without? Well, like on one end of the court, but no, like that you can't. I hate that whole argument because like you have to make the distinction, and what he gives you on offense is 10 times greater than what he takes away from you when he's out there on defense. So it's like, yeah, they ran through what 21 games, they lost like 3 or whatever. You run that team out there for 82, and you see if they're the number 2 seed in the NBA. See if they're pushing Golden State to 6 games. You sound fucking stupid, and you sound like you didn't watch the Grizzlies play without John Morant. And look at the schedule. Yeah, they just won by 40 tonight, but that was again like it was a perfect storm, and everything went right. And if John Morant played tonight and all that stuff happened, they would have won by 40.
yeah,
Same
exactly. It would be
same
the same
thing.
thing. And I got it because it's the round table and we own up to our mistakes and we give credit after we rip people if they do things that we want them to do. I got to shout out Taylor Jenkins, man. I great adjustments since after we had our last podcast in the last 2 games. Now they lost down the stretch in Golden State, but they were right there. They were leading all game. Their inexperience just came through. They couldn't hit a shot to close the stretch, and Golden State does what championship teams do. But the adjustments he's made with Steven Adams going big, they're attacking the paint. They look more aggressive getting downhill. He's designing plays instead of having shooters just go to the corners or pop and make it all look pretty. Design plays to have your guys go downhill and run through the soft ass Warriors team, and it's paid dividends for them. I mean, they split 1-1 without Morant. They got a chance to extend it to Game 7 and come back on their home court. I got to shout out Taylor Jenkins. Great adjustments.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome looking at him, and he had no emotion today while they were up by like 50 points. He's just sitting there stone faced.
He's like, yeah, Brad, you idiot. This is what I do, baby.
He's thinking about you. That's what fired him up in the locker room.
That's what it was. I'm guaranteed. He had our podcast on. He's like, listen to this idiot. Heat Sixers. I mean, to talk about
why don't you, real fast, after you give kind of the recap of what's happened in the series, why don't you walk everybody through your thought process over the last 36 hours?
Tyson was absolutely dying laughing earlier when we got it before we did our little pre-show meeting. I mean, this kid was cracking up like he was at a stand-up comedy show. Felt like Bill Burr for a second, but
yeah, something like that.
So, I mean, okay, I'll go. I mean, so the Sixers are down 3-2 in the series. The Heat just lambast them 120-85 in Game 5. It's just an embarrassment from the Sixers on all levels. Heat, they're going to go back. Sixers come back home into Game 6, have a chance to extend it to 7. I mean, the Heat look great. Sixers looked worse. So that's what it is. And for Tyson's, what Tyson's looking for here is, I was going nuts when the Sixers lost. I'm tweeting at the organization like, this is embarrassing. Like, Doc Rivers needs to be fired immediately after this series. Just going through all the range of emotions. Like, this is atrocious. I'm texting like, I hate the Sixers, yada yada. We get on the pre-call today, and we're looking at the lines like, oh, Sixers minus 2.5. Yeah, they'll blow out the Heat.
yeah. No, it's not even going to be close. Yeah. No, where's Danny Green threes at? Give me Danny Green threes.
And I was like, I'm such a Philly fan right now. Like, one day I'm just hot, and one day I'm cold. Like, I just never know. That's just a Philly fan in me.
Man, my phone was hot last night with all the texts you kept sending about how much you hated the organization, how you wanted Doc out of there. It was like nonstop for a second. I had to put it down. But why don't you explain why you were a little fired up? I mean, the Sixers brought everyone back in. James Harden showed up. Like, the James Harden showed up. Made a guest appearance in the series for a couple games.
Yeah.
And how did, like, last night, why don't you just walk everybody through why you were so upset?
Yeah. So, I mean, Game 4, Embiid comes back. They tie up Game 3. Wow, this is great. It's like, okay, well, we're going to need a good one in Game 4 from everybody here, right? I mean, Heat are number 1 seed for a reason. And like you said, Tyson, oh, look who decides to show up. James Harden with a good like old vintage Harden game.
Old sitcom, when somebody walks in and the whole crowd goes, ooh, when it's that's how it felt. It was like, oh my God, that's James Harden.
I was like, oh, hey, remember him? 31 points in Game 4. He had 9 assists, 7 rebounds, 6 threes. When's the last time that happened? He was great. And to combine that, with Embiid, 24-11, Maxey's doing his thing, Danny Green's hitting threes. Like, we're like, woo, okay, Philly. And then they go on the road with a chance. I mean, the Heat, they're not flailing, man. They're not on the mat, but they're on the ropes. And the Sixers have a chance to put them out by winning this thing. And like I said, winner of Game 5, 80% of the time you win the series. They didn't even get off the plane, I feel like. I mean, it was embarrassing. They scored 19 in the first quarter, 25 in the second. I mean, James Harden was on a milk carton again. That guy was basically kidnapped. 14 points, 5 of 13. I mean, just terrible. Embiid, he played bad. Just so disappointing. And it wasn't just like, I could go through the stats or whatever and box score. You just watch the game. They're walking up the court. They're passing the ball out of bounds. They're not on the same page. They have no energy. And meanwhile, they're just letting the Heat just tee off from 3.
Right, and
Go
that's
attack the glass. It's just so disappointing.
like Jimmy Butler is playing well and Bam is playing well, but like they're not the ones dominating like this series right now. It feels like the Sixers have absolutely no interest in guarding anybody beyond 20 feet, like 17 feet. They don't. It's guys are playing 9 feet off dudes who shoot 40% from three.
Yeah, they're making Max Strus look like Kyle Korver.
I mean, yeah, that dude is earning himself. He's gonna get paid whenever his contract is up. It doesn't matter. He's going to the Kings. That's a that's a max guy waiting.
I wonder if Mike Brown will still be there. Probably
Yeah,
not. They'll probably be on their seventh coach again by then.
yeah, they'll have whoever the last Warriors assistant was. But
Yeah,
I mean, Miami's playing good, man, and like Miami has they just have the attitude of like somebody that you have to physically like beat up in order to get through. And I think that's really working against the Sixers because I think the Sixers still for having the biggest, strongest guy in the league. Everybody else, like they're little, they're not really like physical. They're not playing like super hard on defense. Half of them aren't even playing super hard on offense. And I think Miami's able to take advantage of that. What I'm curious about is if the Bucks and the Heat meet up next round. Because I think the Bucks are the bully now.
yeah.
And I want to see how this series plays out because, and I hate to look ahead like this, but that's where I'm kind of leaning. I think Miami's going to get this thing done. Man, it's so, and I can imagine why you're so frustrated. Like James Harden, the guy you traded for, the guy you're going to pay $35 million because that's Morey's boy, and that's how everything's like. It's just he shows up and it's like, no way, we're going to win the NBA Finals.
God, man.
And then today you woke up and you're like, oh, we're going to win the NBA Finals.
Because Harden's going to show up tomorrow or today, whenever you're listening, look great. We're like, whoa, man. Now, if we can do that in Miami, and they're not going to get off the plane again because Doc Rivers is our coach and has no clue his ass from his elbow, can't tell the difference. Like, God, I'm just.
Would you ask Pop that question?
If he was coaching like that, if his team looked like that, my God, nobody's safe from this wrath. Especially when it comes to the Sixers.
Yeah, Doc is a interesting case.
But I will say, I do think the Sixers are going to win at home in Game 6 because their effort has to be off the charts. I mean, kind of like with the Warriors. I mean, they just got embarrassed. There has to be there has to be some sense of pride within that organization.
How many times have you said this in the last?
I don't know.
3 playoff runs.
I don't know.
Like that exact sentence?
Like, am I trying to convince myself? Or am I trying to convince them? Like, if you guys are listening, you better fucking show up tomorrow. I'm just gonna say that.
I've heard this exact sentence 3 times in the last 3 closeout games the Sixers have played, I think. And every time I get a text at halftime about I hate this team, I hate the
NBA. being sports sucks. Like, why am I a fan? Oh my God. Well, I don't think it's gonna happen tomorrow. I think the Sixers get it done tomorrow. Big game from Embiid. I think Harden's gonna tease us again. And then they're going to go back to Miami, and I think it's going to be the same thing that happened in Game 5. I don't think they're going to show up. So, hey, at least the Sixers got this 7 games. That's my prediction. But I don't know what's going on with the organization. They just, oh man, it's tough. But after that doom and gloom segment, let's talk about a series that's been absolutely fantastic. And the Suns and Mavs, man, I mean, it's bringing me back. And we were texting about this too, especially with the rivalry with Luka and D Book. Oh, this is reminding me of the old school West. Yeah, I don't think they like each other, which is awesome. It's great.
I don't know if it's real. Book does that with everybody, I feel like.
Oh, if it's real in this series, I love it because this reminded me.
Yeah, it's real right now. Yeah,
you slap a Spurs thing in there. Like if the Spurs were great and the Suns were battling them, you combine. Like remember the Mavs? What was his name? Michael Finley. Like those Mavs. They give you those elbows. You hated them. Yeah, you still hate them. Yeah. So it reminded me of that throwback series, dude. And this is
great.
The Mavs,
I mean, dude, I hate seeing Sean Marion courtside in a Mavs hat. I hate watching. I hate Mark Cuban when he puts. I love him on Shark Tank. Hate him when he's. I hate him when he's over there, dude. I love Luke. I fucking hate him. Right, like I hate the Mavs so much. Like Dorian Finney-Smith, dude. I hate Marquise Chris so much. After yesterday, dude, I hate the
He's an
way that Reggie.
ex-Sun.
I hate how Reggie Bullock changed the way we have to say his name now, dude. I hate him. I hate him. I hate Jason Kidd, dude. I hate the way he just fucking stands there. Like he's not I hate him, dude. I hate the Mavs.
This is great. I didn't know you hated the Mavs that much, so I'm
I
glad
hate the
we were
Mavs.
able to get the therapy
The
session out
first
here.
thing my girlfriend learned about the NBA, she was like asking who the Suns play, and I said they're playing the Mavs. Fuck the Mavs, and that's all she knows about the Mavs. Like I told her who they were playing for this series, and she goes, "Oh yeah, fuck the Mavs," and I was like, "Yeah, that's we hate them. I hate them.
Oh my
I
god,
hate the
that is
Mavs more than I hate
fantastic.
the Spurs or the Lakers. I hate the
Well, hopefully they feel the same way in Dallas, the Suns. Because it's been a rough road for them in Dallas. The Suns. I mean, they didn't shoot over 50% in Dallas. That was the first time all playoffs. Mavs shot, like you said, they shot 80%, it felt like, at home, 23s in game 4 of just obliterating the Nets from beyond the arc. It felt like the Suns got away a little bit from what their defensive identity was. Okay, we'll let Luka kind of go nuts, stop the role players a bit. Then in Dallas, man, everybody was eating on that one. Suns didn't play well offensively. They got out of their rhythm a bit. They got back to that in game 5. I mean, first half was a little testy. I mean, it felt like the Suns started playing a little bit unsure. They're like, man, are we, is this kind of happening again? We're slowing? And then they flipped the switch. Boom. Oh, this is the Suns team that went to the finals last year. This is the Suns team who's the best in the league and has played like it all season long. I think they're going to use that momentum. They're like, oh, we're the Suns. Are you kidding me? Like, we were doubting ourselves. They're going to go into Dallas. I think they're going to close them out. If there's one thing we've seen about these Suns teams in the past couple years, when it's time to go, big lights are on, closeout games, they end it, and they end it quick and with a statement.
Game 6 book is a real thing, and I think NBA social media hates this dude, and I he's going to give him plenty of reasons to add to the list. And people hate Chris Paul. It's funny, like being a Suns fan, and I like all these dudes, and I always kind of like the assholes, anyways. Like I already like Chris Paul and Jay Crowder and those guys, but like around the league, like if you talk to other people's fans, people hate Chris Paul, they hate Devin Booker, they hate Jay Crowder, uh, and it's kind of weird, but I think it's an advantage. It's in some ways in those closeout games because they have some like real villains that shake things up. And I think that the Mavs caught fire, and I think Game 4, and honestly, this whole series, and not like in a one-sided way, but it's been so poorly officiated. I
Oh,
think it's like just ruining the flow of the game. Like there was one stretch where like the Mavs got called for like 2 offensive fouls, and then Phoenix got like 2, and I don't think any of them were like hardly fouls at all, and it was just like taking the fun out of the game. And I don't think, um, that certainly didn't hurt Dallas at home being able to kind of soak it in and take in the moment a little better. And then they go on the road, they got punched in the face. But I think that the Suns found something with the increased Shamet minutes and increasing Bismack Biyombo minutes, dropping Campaign and JaVale McGee to the bench. And I think that's going to be enough. Just that in itself, just getting those negative uh, minutes off the court, because it's not like Dallas was blowing them out in the 2 games that they won either, for the most part.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they had that one. I think game 4 was like
Mm.
oh, man. I mean, geez, if Dallas, of course, they hit 23s. It's like, oh, they can't do that.
Right, it was like
But
111 to 101 or something too.
yeah, I mean, here's the question, right? That everybody's going to be asking. Dallas shot 8 of 32, 25% from 3 last game. They
9
shot 20,
assists. Dallas didn't even have a triple double as a team.
which is crazy, especially with how they share the ball too offensively. It's really eye opening. 27 of 71, 38% from the field. You got to think that's not going to happen again. And meanwhile, the Suns, 12 of 32, 37% from three. Not great. I mean, really, when you think about it. So it's not like they shot incredibly well. And you're like, well, of course they won with a 30-point victory. But what I liked about what the Suns did, they attacked the basket really hard. They shot 50%, 49%, 43 of 87 from the field. But it was more about the mentality and the attitude. Like DeAndre Ayton showed up a bit. Like you want him to show up more. I think that's very fair. But I mean, 20 points. It looked like he kind of flipped the switch. Like, okay, it's time for me to attack. And really, if I'm not going to get an offensive rebound, at least get a hand on it.
There was
I think
twice
that
in the
helped a
game
lot.
though where he either didn't realize he wasn't being guarded or turned the wrong way instead of just turning and dunking the basketball, which is like you were talking about going forward if they were to play the Warriors. I think that's the biggest, like, yeah, Aiton's big and he can rebound. He's a good rebounder when he gives a shit, and he can, shoot 70%. But like, the dude's not a tone setter, and that I think that's the biggest thing that Phoenix is missing. Like, Devin Booker has to set the tone at 6'6", and really the only way you could do that is with three balls. So I think Aiton's got to be better. I think he has to be better than 20 and 9.
I agree, especially in a closeout game. And it looked like early Monty tried to get him involved. Like, let's run a play for him, get him settled in. I think that helped. I mean, it literally first play of the game, offensive foul. Like
He got 2
that,
in like 2
it's like,
minutes.
geez, man. But like we talked about in the last pod, that's why they have that front line. JaVale McGee, Bismack Biyombo was better than him in this game. I think JaVale McGee is going to be a big factor in Dallas. I mean, he is a great interior defender. Biyombo was awesome on those screen and rolls and switches, and he could recover. Like you said, he was plus 18 for plus minus in big minutes too, and important minutes. So that was a big factor. And then, but you got to think there's got to be another Chris Paul game in here in this series where he takes it over. I mean, he had 10 assists, but 7 points, only shot the ball 8 times.
And like, how many
I'm
turnovers?
just waiting.
4?
He had, let's see here. Yep, 4 turnovers. So there's got to be a Chris Paul game in there somewhere. Now, what I'm interested to see if the Suns can guard the perimeter. They haven't done it in Dallas. They've done it in Phoenix. They have to. And we're talking about a team that's been good defensively and good at guarding the three all year. I don't know what's going on in Dallas where they don't. And it's they got to find something. I expect them to, but that's the biggest things I think that we're looking for in Game 6 in this closeout series. How Dallas spreads the floor. Can Phoenix guard that three? And on the flip end, can they attack the basket and get their bigs involved?
Exactly. Yep, I agree, but I do think that people might be giving the Mavs. I mean, Luka. Like I said about Steph, like Luka can still go for 50.
Yeah.
Like there's just like, and if that dude's getting the whistle early in the game, he's gonna shoot 20 free throws. Like
Of course.
like not to maybe he's getting fouled every time, but like the dude can go off for 50 points and then you can't do anything about it.
You know what I didn't even think about? Is Scott Foster on the whistle?
Yeah, I think so. I think I
Oh
read something.
my
I mean,
goodness.
yeah, he hasn't played or hasn't officiated
A Chris Paul game?
in this series yet. I don't think they didn't give him to him in Game 3, and everybody thought they were because it was CP3's birthday. But yeah, he's going to be there, and if he's there, then we will see you
In
in
Phoenix?
Phoenix for Game 7,
And
100%.
for those of you who
Isn't
don't
that
know,
nuts?
every single time that Scott Foster's ref the Chris Paul playoff game, a Chris Paul team has lost.
It's
Like
like
he's
15
never
times
won.
or something. It's like
15
0 and
times or
15
something
or
like that.
something.
Something crazy. So if it's a Scott Foster game, look out. That's all I have to say. But that's going to wrap up our NBA convo. We're not done yet, Tyson, because we got a little football gridiron to discuss. And it's the NFL schedule release is happening today. If you're listening to it on May 12th, it's going to be the big reveal. We know that which teams are playing who. We know the divisions who are matching up against each other, but we don't know the schedule. Some of these games, like the NFL's great at this. We got our openers, we got our London game, a Germany game they've released, but we're going to know the full schedule today. I'm excited for this. I'm not excited enough to the point where I'm gonna be watching on TV. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
I
that
know.
into it.
I know. I
But
watched the whole draft, but I'm not watching the schedule release.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see when and where though. Now, are you gonna go? That's a win. That's a win. That's a loss through our Eagles schedule.
I mean, yeah, but not in that voice. Probably. I'll
The
just
Mike
do it.
Francesa.
Yeah.
That's a win. That's a loss.
No, it's always fun to do that, but then like when the schedule first comes out, you talk yourself, you're like, oh, we could win 11 games. Um, but then when training camp comes around, you kind of are like, oh man, I kind of, we got holes here and we got holes here, and then inevitably, somebody somewhere is going to get hurt and completely change the landscape of the NFL before the season starts, because that's just how it goes. But it's going to be fun for the couple weeks that we get where it's like, dude, I think the Panthers could win 10 games.
Right. When we started looking at it, like going through it, like, man, this is gonna be crazy. Yeah, so that's happening tomorrow. I'm excited. Now, if you're a nut and you want to watch that on TV, more power to you. I will not be joining. That's probably like one of the few like crazy sports things I'm like not into. Um, but it's happening today
Dude,
for
it's
you
so
guys out there.
stupid. Like they just like the schedule comes out when the schedule comes out. Like I can look at it on my phone, or I can
Yeah.
watch like three dudes who like I don't find entertaining talk about. Now, with New England, we know Mac Jones is going into a second year. Is he gonna take a leap?
Yeah,
Shut the
exactly.
fuck up.
In that voice too. Well, with coinciding with the NFL schedule release, Tyson sent me over something from Bleacher Report betting, some early NFL win totals. Now, Tyson and I are going to
These are
be
from DraftKings.
from DraftKings. Okay. Oh yeah, odds via DraftKings. There we go. Now, Tyson and I are going to be giving out our official win totals later in the summer or before the season. We'll have a whole thing on the NFL. Don't you worry. But right now, we're going to go through this. Now, if you haven't seen it, it's on BR Betting on Instagram, or you can just check it out. It's on Sportsbooks right now. We're just going to go through this. Things that pop out to us that we're seeing right now. I think we're both on the the Seahawks win totals at 5.5. We're both on the under, I believe, here.
I think the Seahawks have a really, really good chance to be picking number one in the NFL draft next year. I think this team sucks.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Lock's the quarterback. They have the most miles traveled out of any team in the country, any team in the league. Like, this is going to be a rough year for him. I mean, that defense is probably going to be bad. I think under 5.5 might be the safest thing we talk about.
That it's going to be bad. And then I don't have many opinions on the rest of the NFC West there, but I do think one of the Rams or 49ers is going to win more than 10 games. So if you
Yeah,
can figure out, and then both might, that's
right.
happened before too, but one of those two teams I think goes over for sure. I'm not sure which one yet.
Yeah, so Rams is at 10.5, 49ers set at 10. Interesting, especially with a 17 game season. I mean, what? So 11-6. It seems
Right.
low for a Rams team. So I agree. I'm not sure yet. I want to see again. I want to see their schedule. Funny enough, but just see like what's going on and kind of piece something together there. NFC South, Tyson. Any Bucks at 11.5. I think they're the highest win total actually in the league. Them and the Bills actually. 11.5. Is that something that jumps out to you, or anything else in that division?
I think Saints under 8 is something that I think the Saints are going to stink. Like, and we were saying it last year, and we were 3 weeks too early for everybody because it was, oh my gosh, can you believe how good? And then it was the wheels came off, and it's like that's the team that I thought. And Jameis, had a good year, and maybe he has another one, but like I don't think the Saints team is as good as people give it credit for. I think the defense is getting another year older. Um, New head coach, new everything really. And then like the Falcons could very easily, and the Panthers both could go under. Like I wouldn't touch the over on any of these teams in this division. It's 11.5 is high.
It's 11. Yeah, but I mean, then you think about it. Play the Saints twice, play the Panthers twice,
Right.
play the
Yeah.
Falcons twice. That could be 6 there. So yeah, 11.5 for the Bucks seems high, but they could sweep their division at 6. Then you got to win 6 elsewhere. Very doable. But yeah, I mean, Saints at 8 under that. I mean, Dennis Allen, the head coach. Yeah, it's man, seems like that's very reasonable. Panthers at 6, Falcons at 5. I might look for the Panthers over if I was going to play on anything besides the
You're
Bucks in this
nuts.
division.
You're nuts.
I'm not saying I am. I'm that's just jumping out to me. I mean, the Falcons I think are going to be bad, and if the Saints suck, like it could be a few wins there just
Would
for
you
the
rather
Panthers.
be the Falcons and be bad with Marcus Mariota and see what you have with Desmond Ritter, or would you rather be the Cardinals and be bad with Sam Darnold and see what you have in Matt Corral? Like they're the
Or
same
the Panther
team.
be the Panthers? Yeah, I know.
They're the same
Jeez.
team.
Yeah, I don't know. That's gonna be a bad division, and then the Bucks. Like that's how.
Yeah.
What's this? AFC West: Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders. Maybe the best division in football. Chiefs set at 10.5. Broncos and Chargers at 10. Raiders at 8.5. Anything you like there, Tyson?
I mean, if pick who you think's going to win the division and take the over, because it's going to take more than 10 wins to win this thing. We know that. So whatever one of the and if you, I mean, I think the Raiders could win 9 games. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they win 10 or even 11 games next season. So that one's intriguing. But I think for this division, just like out of that four-headed monster, pick who you like the best and take the over.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Chargers 10. It feels like they need to take the next leap, like kind of building. Okay, you got the quarterbacks starting to build a roster to fit around him. Feels like they need to go over 10. Should probably win 11 or 12 next year. I like, can the Raiders win 9? It seems like a division that's going to beat up on itself a lot. So I'm kind of scared on that front. But interested to see, kind of how their schedule lays out, where they're traveling to and what spots they have. AFC South. Colts and Titans both at 9.5. Jaguars win total at 6, and Texans at 4.5. You had an interesting thought in the Titans.
Yeah, I think Titans under 9.5 feels right to me. Like even last year when they were the number one seed in the AFC, they felt more like a 500 team to me. And I like Derrick Henry will change things obviously, but they just lost AJ Brown, who single handedly won them at least one game last year. I think it was the Minnesota game, possibly more than that. The defense is, I think, overperformed last year. I think the offensive line definitely showed in spots that it can just be the reason you lose games. And I don't think Ryan Tannehill is going to make like Treylon Burks isn't going to walk in and be a star. It's going to be the Derrick Henry show again, and like the dude's good enough to win you 9 games by himself, just off the strength of running for 2,000 yards if he doesn't get hurt. But you're not winning. I just don't see it. And this division sucks, and I get that. But this division has shown us year over year that like the Jaguars will beat the Colts, right? And like the Texans will beat the Titans. Like we just know these things. So I'm not worried about that at all.
Because the division sucks, I'm going to go Jaguars. I'm eyeing over 6. I think they're going to be much improved. I mean, you get that disaster out of your locker room that was Urban Meyer. Second year for Trevor Lawrence. The game should slow down a bit. I like the Jaguars over 6 here. And that I'm probably going to hold a ticket on them to win this division just because it's a crapshoot. So I'm going to look at that as we get closer to our show where we're going to go through all this officially and get it on the record. But that's what I got my eyes on. Let's see. AFC North. Bengals set at 10. Ravens 9.5. Browns don't have a number up because of the Deshaun Watson thing. Will he be suspended? Will he not? Steelers at 7.5.
I like the over on Pittsburgh. Look, like Mike Tomlin's never gone below 500. Now he can't go exactly 500, and I don't know if they're going to be good enough to win 9 games. But I'm not going to bet on. I have a 20-year sample size of this dude winning more than 7.5 games. I'm going to take that over. Just what Vegas thinks. If Deshaun Watson's suspended for 8 games and the Steelers get to play him twice in that time, they're playing Jacoby Brissett twice. Boom, you're a fourth of the way to your over.
I like the Ravens over 9.5. I mean, it feels like they got like an incoming class of new players in with all the injuries they had last year. I think this team should win 10 games. So I'm going to be looking at that win total over there. AFC East, Bills set at 11.5, Dolphins at 9, Patriots 8.5, Jets at 5.5. I think we're both on Jets over 5.5 here, Tyson. That's something that jumped out to me.
Yeah, I think like this is my honest opinion about the Jets this year for sure, is that if Zach Wilson doesn't make the jump, they have invested too much in weapons around him to be patiently waiting on him to fully develop. So I think it's a now or never thing. And I believed in Zach Wilson coming out, and I still have faith that he's going to be able to put it together in the NFL. But like, I think that's an underrated storyline that people really aren't thinking about, and I'm sure that nobody in New York would ever say it. But if Kyler Murray were to come on the market or somebody like that next year, like there's no way. You know, if they win 5 games and Kyler Murray pops up on the market, there's no way Zach Wilson's the starting quarterback of the New York Jets next season.
I love that.
There's,
Also,
it just can't happen.
I'm a leader of 2-9, so I think I might have to take something on Dolphins over 9, just because that's my boy. NFC East, our division, Tyson. I think you're a little pissed off at one of these. Cowboys at 10.5, Eagles at 8.5. Our Eagles at 8.5. Commanders at 7.5. Giants at 7. What are you pissed off about here?
Free money. It's free money in Philly. It's free money. I know I'm an Eagles fan. They won 9 games last year. Roster was way worse. Schedule is going to be about the same, difficulty-wise. I think, you know, and this team is just, they're so much better. They have now, you know, holes are filled places, and the secondary is still going to suck, and you can look at that as a reason why this team's going to stink. But the other position groups on defense got better, and they still won 9 games. Right? Washington sucks. I don't like Wentz is an upgrade over Heineke, but like Wentz isn't good enough. I can't wait for when he comes back to Philadelphia, man. That game's gonna be electric. I hate Carson Wentz almost as much as I hate the Mavs these days.
There's no way. There's
kidding.
no way.
I'm just kidding.
You hate the Mavs more than the devil.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Yeah, I think Philly is easily over 8.5. I think at worst they finish with 9 wins, and I think I'm going to be holding Eagles tickets to win the division. And I think the Giants might be good enough to win 8 games.
Yeah, I'm with you on both of that. I like Eagles over 8.5 as well. Their color, our jersey color is green, baby. Over 8.5 is a cash money bet. Come on now. And I think the Giants are going to be improved. I don't know about Daniel Jones, but Dayball's an upgrade over Joe Judge. And the roster is not horrible. They could win 8 games. I think you're right there. Am I going to trust the Giants with my money? Probably not.
Mm-mm.
Probably not. NFC North. Packers at 11, Vikings at 9, Bears at 7, Lions at 6. Apparently, DraftKings doesn't want to go either way with a half here. Okay. I like Lions over 6. And if you're giving me 6 and not 6.5 here, I think this is a roster that can win 6 games out of 11, or 6 games and lose 11. They lost so many close games last year, and their roster was so much worse than it is this year. I like the Lions to win 6 games or more.
I got the Bears under 7. And I think the Bears might be comfortably under 7 wins. I think the Bears stink. I think the Bears were horrible last year. I think Justin Fields got too much credit. Like when you compare to, like just talking about Zach Wilson right there, like the hate that he got for his performance, and then the praise that Justin Fields got for his performance. It's like, are we watching the same things? Like one guy he's gonna out fumble Daniel Jones. Like it's crazy. Team got worse, no wideouts, no more Khalil Mack. They're clearly, racing towards the bottom. No first-round pick this year. First draft pick they take is a dude who served in the Civil War, 25-year-old Velus Jones or whatever. I mean, what are we doing?
Oh, my God, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's your early NFL win totals. Like I said, we'll have way more NFL stuff as we get it through the summer. Trust me, like we're going to be attacking the NFL this year. So this is just a little appetizer. But before we get out of here, we got money making time, baby. We got quite a bit. We're going to have some NBA bets for tomorrow. I got some hockey picks. Of course, we're on the ice, baby. Let's go. And then we're going to have our same game parlays that we've cooked up for tomorrow in both the Suns and the Sixers game. The Suns and the Sixers games. We're combining the two, doing a little SGP plus courtesy of FanDuel Sportsbook. So I'll start here. I'm going to start on the ice before we get to the hardwood. I am going to be all over the Tampa Bay Lightning money line. It's currently sitting at minus 140. It's basically a cheat code. Tampa Bay off a loss. Like, they always win in the playoffs off a loss. They're like, I think it's like 15 or 12 times in a row that they've won off a loss. It's actually insane. And you're giving me a minus 140. Listen, I get it. Toronto's good. Give me the Lightning minus 140. Now, I don't know. I think the Hurricanes, I'm just going to roll the dice on that plus money here. Plus 112. They've been much better than Boston all season long. Just got their mojo back in Carolina, stomping out the Bruins. I think they put an end to it tonight. I like Hurricanes money line plus 112. Now, Tyson, let's get over to the hardwood. Who do you got in this Heat Sixers game? Line currently at Sixers minus 2.5.
Who do I have to win the game?
Well, what's your pick? You got one on this game?
I mean, I think Miami gets it done. Honestly, I think the Sixers are soft, and I think the Doc is soft, and I think that the Heat are bullies, and I don't think the Sixers can be bullied, fight back anymore. I think Jimmy Butler comes out and drops, double with maybe 8 assists or something, and walks out of there with both middle fingers up with a win for Miami. But I'm not going to put money on that.
Okay.
So for my pick for the same game parlay here for this one, I got Embiid over 11.5 boards. I got Jimmy Butler over 6 plus assists, and Danny Green with 3+ made threes. Look, I'm not worried about Embiid. I think he's going to play well tomorrow. I think the MVP talk is just so ridiculous. Like, that's why he played bad. It wasn't like one of the best defenses in the NBA. The dude has a broken face and a concussion. It wasn't like a combination of these. I think he has a good game. Like I said, I think Jimmy Butler's going to play really well. And then Danny Green's going to sit in the corner and get 3 free ones. Easy. That line has changed since we started the episode, by the way.
Absolutely.
That line's gone down since we started the episode.
I love that. Oh, I'm on Sixers money line. Yeah, I'm riding with them, man. Sixers money line tomorrow. We're gonna force a game 7. We're gonna be back in Miami. I'm gonna get my hopes up again. Then I'm gonna go full Philly melt and lose my mind once they don't show up for a game 7. That's what's gonna happen. And regarding the SGP, the players involved here, I got Danny Green over 7.5 points. 3 threes were right there. I think you get a layup on a backdoor cut. Come on, give me a break. He might have 6 like he did in game 3. I'm going to go and beat over 25.5 points. I think he needs to respond. A monster game, can get to the free throw line a lot more favorably in Philly. He's just going to be more aggressive, not going to be fading away. I think he's going to go to the rim. And then I'm going to hit Maxey over 2.5 threes. He's been playing much better at home than on the road. Coming off a pretty poor game in Miami. I think he's going to respond. I think he's going to hit some shots, and I think he's going to hit 3+ threes as well. Now, Tyson, your Suns, what do we got in there?
I got Phoenix to win the game. Again, not throwing that one down in the parlay here for everybody else. Didn't want to put my personal bias all over this thing, but I will with the same game parlay stuff here. I got Booker over 27.5 points. Look, I know I said it earlier, but game 6, like Devin Booker's stats, this is when he plays point book. For the most part, on the road, closeout games, he's going to have the ball in his hands. And when Devin Booker's got the ball in his hands in a situation we've seen, for better or for worse, Devin Booker's putting that shot up. And in these closeout games on the road, the ball goes in the hoop. I think Book has at least 30 points tomorrow, and I also think he has at least 5 easy rebounds. I take him at over 4.5. Like, he's one of those guys that just gets sneaky 6 rebound games because you're not boxing out on the weak side. He just gets a free one. And then I got Mikal Bridges 2+ steals. I think Monty Williams, Cam Johnson was getting bullied by Luka in games 1 and 2, but so was McHale. So then Monty decided, let's just run when Cam's on him. McHale is playing off ball, almost free safety, and he's just getting free steals. I think it's 4 in game 5. It 2 feels easy, and I get plus money, so I got to rock with it.
I like Suns to win as well. I got them on the money line, so I'm going the roundtable parlay, basically. No, this roundtable winners. My Sixers to win tomorrow and the Suns to win tomorrow. Those are my 2 bets on the hardwood. And then to close out this SGP plus, my 3 from the Suns game, I'm with Tyson. Booker over 27.5 points. I like him to have 3 threes. Booker over 2.5 threes in this one. He's been shooting really well. I think he's going to get up a lot in this one. And then I like Chris Paul to have over 8.5 assists. If he can't close the game out, I think he's going to set people up. I actually think he's going to have a few lobs to Ayton or some cheap ones to Biyombo and to McGee. So I'm over. I'm on Chris Paul over 8.5 assists in this one. We will also be tweeting these out. So make sure to follow our social media pages. Instagram is @ the roundtable pod _ Follow our TikTok. We're going to have some more stuff on there @ the roundtable pod _ Follow the Twitter @TRT _ I've been posting some pics on there. 4 and 2.
Tweeting at the Sixers organization from there.
Tweeting at the Sixers org, trying to get some people riled up and fired up.
It's a normal type, finding a slant.
Got to follow us on social media. We're going to have more content out, especially with baseball season. It's tough to do it on these podcasts. So follow us there for picks. Tyson's
hey man, my Mets
good.
my Mets overs have almost hit already.
Oh my goodness gracious. Unbelievable. So make sure to follow us there. Like, subscribe, and share as always. Thank you for listening, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or if you're watching us on YouTube. We really appreciate the support. And Tyson, until next time, guys, peace.